I'm going to start in the authoring interface. Not during the demo, everyone. I don't know. Go away. You go away. You go away. All right, I'm going to go into my old stalwart AI generated purple unicorns. And I'm going to go to my curriculum. So before, and I think the page I'm going to be looking at is actually the first page hierarchically, which is in my first unit, blah, blah, blah. It's unicorn epistemology. Before I get into my demo, I want to talk a little bit about what a practice page is. And we do have two page types. Well, I guess we have four page types, but in terms of this feature, we have two page types. We have scored and practice pages. So a scored page is going to have activities that contribute to the student's score, which will help determine what the student's grade is in the course. A practice page, as the name implies, any activities on that page are just for practice. They're not going to contribute to the score. You can see down here that we also have basic versus adaptive pages. This demo is not going to touch on adaptive pages. I'm only going to be talking about basic practice pages. Before I actually click into my unicorn epistemology page, I want to go over here to the right, and this little arrow guy, I've got some options here. I can delete, I can duplicate or move the page, and then I can go into options. This option data set, or not data set page, is the same. It appears the same whether it's a scored or practice page, but there are options here that have to do with scoring that simply aren't going to work if this is a practice page. So, for instance, number of attempts, scoring strategy, retake mode, these are all things that have to do with are relevant to scored pages only. So only a subset of these fields are things that I can change. I have the title of the page. I can do some intro content. I'm actually going to put something in there just so that we can see it when we get to the student part of the demo. I can change the poster image here. I actually had a picture of a very wise-looking philosopher unicorn reading a book with glasses, and then I realized it was on my other computer, so I'm not going to be able to do that. But I could change my poster image. It was a really good picture. I can also change this. If I wanted to change this to a scored page, I could do that here. Explanation strategy. So we can get an explanation on a practice page, and we can determine here like how that would work. Suggested duration. This is optionally giving an idea to students about how long the page is going to take. There's a number of formulas for that and resources online to help determine that. But I'm just going to put 5 just so we can kind of see that when we get to the student page. And I also have down here purpose. So this one is labeled as a foundation page. That's the idea there being, it's probably going to have a lot of information that is being introduced to the student for the first time. We have deliberate practice, which is probably going to be a page that's heavy with activities that the students can use to practice, concepts and skills that were maybe introduced in foundation. And I'm not really going to talk about explorations in this demo. Yes, Hal?
At the top of the screen next to the image tile is an intro video.
Mm-hmm.
How would that work with a page?
I have never done an intro video for a specific page. I've done them for like a container, like a module. I think if you I would have to experiment with it, but I think if you set it, then it would appear in place of the image. But
okay,
yeah,
I assumed that. I'm more curious about what the user experience is. So it sounds like it would be, you would only reach it from the
gallery view of
the Learn gallery.
Yeah, which is the same for the poster image as well. So when I've seen this, and people can correct me if I'm wrong about this, when I've used it for a container, then, and I'm assuming it's working the same on an individual page, then this would appear in the gallery view on the Learn page, and the student could actually watch it there to get a video introduction to that page.
Okay.
All right.
And Caitlin has her hand up.
Caitlin.
Just for the good of the recording, the suggested duration in minutes, if you contact the OLI team, such as myself or anyone on the learning engineering team, we can run a script so that we get times for every page in your course based on a formula. This unfortunately cannot be uploaded in mass, but we can give you the time for each page, so that cuts down on your workload when you're authoring, if you want those suggested times.
Yes, that's a good point. Thank you, Caitlin. And I mean, that's going to use kind of a generic formula to figure it out. And as, if you have a course that you're giving over, semester after semester or on a repeated basis, then you might be able to get a more specific idea for that course. But yeah, that would give you a generic guess. All right, moving on, I'm going to click into the page. So I've got a learning objective here. I mean, these are a lot of things that you're going to see on this page are things that you can also put on a scored page, though probably, this page has kind of an intro image and a lot of text. Again, this is a foundational page. They're probably not going to see as much of this type of content on a scored page, but everything I'm about to show about how to put content on a page, it works the same on a scored page, but we'll talk a little bit about how that might look different and operate differently for the student experience. So
Amanda, sorry, in the menu, I saw a thing called related resource. What was that?
Related resource. Actually, I'm not sure I know what that is. Let me go back. I can't even click on this. I think this might be something that is not functional. Does anyone?
I think that might be when there is the intentional practice. What's it called?
Deliberate practice.
Deliberate practice. Yeah, I think it has to do with that. I'm not entirely certain.
Ask me for a demo on related resource and I will figure it out for you.
Yeah, so that is what it is. You can have pages, of course, that don't appear in the course hierarchy. And so the related resource allows you to leave a page. Well, even if you do have it in the hierarchy, it still works. But when you have deliberate practice and when you have an exploration page, you can specify which foundation page or set of pages that deliberate practice or that exploration pertains to. And then there are features in the student-facing interface that take advantage of that so that it knows basically where, if that page is not in the course hierarchy, how to kind of fit it in, because it knows which pages it relates to that are in the course hierarchy.
I still would be willing. So I did note here while Darren was talking that when I changed the course purpose to deliberate practice, then this became a functional, field. Anyone who, this is a reminder that at any point in this demo, you can put one or more suggestions for the next feature demo, and maybe you want to see more about deliberate practice, explorations, or how this related resource works.
Yeah, relatedly would be good to know, like when you changed that menu selection, what does it do?
Yeah, I could definitely get into that if folks request it. And part of that would be me figuring it out myself because I don't actually know how it works right now. Okay. So for any of these pages, then if you want to add content, again, for a scored or unscored page, I'm not really going to talk about learning objectives. That could be its own whole demo. But if I scroll here, you're going to see in between resources that exist, this little guy pops up that's aligned with a plus, and if I mouse over it, it says insert content. And if I then click on that, then I get different content types. So I have different question types. And I also have different general content types. And I'm just going to highlight some things I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about A/B testing, the alternative materials, surveys, or reports. I'm not really going to get into question types. I mean, that it could be its own demo of how you can configure these questions. And I'm also not going to talk about activity banks. I already did a feature demo on activity banks that is up on the OLI website as we speak. So I'm gonna show you a couple of questions and not without really getting into the inner workings of how all the configuration options. I'll show you how those work because they do look different on a practice page than on a scored page. If I want to add some text, I could say add paragraph. Actually going to delete that again, but if you scroll down here, this is all a paragraph type. Again, these appear if I scroll in between. So if I wanted to add a page break, then I can add a break here. I've actually already added one. It's a little hard to see in dark mode, but it says content break right here after this paragraph and before this group. So we'll see in the instructor and student views how that content break looks. It's again, essentially a page break. And then one of the other options I had is group. If I insert this, I can have different ways that, this is putting content into this box that you see. And I do get this drop down menu. So if I can have kind of different titles that can go here of different content for students. And then inside I can do, I can add more content, just it's the same menu I saw before. I'm not going to actually have one of those, but I could have no box, and that just means I generically put content in here, which I've done in some of these boxes below. The other drop-down menu I get controls, pardon, the visibility of this group. So I can have always show, which is our default, show to instructors only. Something that will show to an instructor or a student after they've had their first go through the page if they're going back to the page, and then never show. So I have two of those types of boxes here. This one is actually a note that I've instructed, that I've set up to be show to instructors only. So this is something that an author can put in that's like a note for instructors. It doesn't have to just be a note. Again, you can put any type of content in here, but this is something that only the instructors are going to see. Students will not see. I also have another one here that the visibility is never show. And what that means is this is essentially something that only authors can see. So this might be someplace where you, if you're experimenting with some new content, you don't want folks to see it yet. Maybe you're putting stuff together that you don't actually want to get published as part of, if you're doing a publication. This could be a way to have some content or some notes about what you might want to put in the future. This is only going to be visible to authors looking in this interface that we're in right now. I also mentioned that I'm going to show you some basics of some questions. Again, I'm not going to get into all of these configuration options, but I've made a couple of questions here. I made a multiple choice and an input. And the main reason I'm putting this here is to demo for you not only how these look in different views, but also to talk about how this is going to be different for a practice page versus a scored page. The main difference of how this is different from a practice page versus a scored page, other than the fact that anything that happens in these activities is not going to contribute to the student's score, is that for practice pages, these are, you'll see when we get to the student interface, these are all individual activities. So the student's going to do this activity and then submit per activity. Whereas for scored pages, it's all of the activities and then the entire page gets submitted. We do have an upcoming roadmap feature called Score As You Go that would allow an option to have, instead of a page level submit, kind of an activity by activity scoring. That doesn't exist yet. It's scheduled for later this year. And even when that exists, it's not going to be the default. The default for a scored page will remain a scoring at the entire page level whereas for practice pages, it's always individually. I think I saw a bunch of chats. If people can tell me if you have questions, I don't, people might be like voting for next topics. If you actually have a question, please just speak up.
Okay, so I actually have a comment on the instructor view
Yeah.
only. As Hal and I pointed out, there is no catalog or pointers to this instructor only content. So in order to make it visible for instructors, Aaron has come up with the solution of in the curriculum, you have a page that says instructor content, and the instructor boxes are on that page for instructors to see. And then there's just some boilerplate language for students to see that says this page has no content for students, it's for the instructors. That way instructors will know which page to go to when they open up a course.
So that's like, you're saying it's like a table of contents for instructor only content?
Yeah, but puts it in the outline so they'll see it and find it
Okay.
and know it's there. Otherwise they wouldn't.
Mhm.
But it actually contains the instructor content. It doesn't contain pointers to scattered instruction.
No, it contains the instructor content.
Oh,
I misunderstood the question,
Yeah.
sorry.
wait, so are you recommending that they don't use this type of box?
No. Caitlin's just giving a workaround to the fact that instructors can't find instructor only content.
Okay,
If you have scattered notes throughout the curriculum, an instructor can't
they
in
won't
any
know
way
where
just
it
find
is.
where all the
Yeah, they don't.
If
go
they
through the
encounter a
course
page,
pages.
they'll see it.
So the
Yeah.
recommendation is to put all of the instructor only content on one page.
Or put it, name the page instructor only content so it shows up in the outline.
Yeah,
And they'll see that it's there.
yeah,
But then on the page, just a note in case the students come to that to saying this page is blank on purpose, kind of.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The question I had is what are page breaks used for?
So, I have to admit, and I love that you're asking me this question. I have, what?
Probably the major use of page breaks is to have multiple questions in a kind of
Like a one question at a
Carousel.
time.
what we call the carousel
Mhm.
interface. So putting a page break in the middle of a page is equivalent to making two pages, almost just about. Except
That's
they're
right.
not two pages in the curriculum, so it's not as useful.
So you would suggest if we had this, it would actually put the break, like maybe, oh, this isn't where I want to go. Actually between these two questions.
Well, that is a particular way of presenting questions that we have. So
Page breaks are usually used within a group so that it produces that carousel effect.
Mhm.
the slideshow.
I would highly recommend folks not use them in the middle of a page to break up a page, because then that second page wouldn't be labeled in any way, shape, or form in the content outline.
Okay, there you have it. Page breaks, possible, but not
I just wanted it, I wanted it recorded, but I also wanted to know if there were any other reasons to use it, but.
So I honestly, before I did this demo, I never used a page break, and as part of getting ready for it, I was like, let's see everything I should demo.
Yeah,
This
of
is.
course.
So, yes.
It
Possible.
absolutely won't. It will never break the page in itself into multiple pages. I think the fact that you can actually insert a content break at that top level probably shouldn't exist, because Aaron is right. You put them inside of a group to then have that carousel localized inside of that group, right? To have that carousel effect inside the group itself. But at the top level, I don't think that works. I don't think that does anything, in fact.
As an example, from a course I recently took that used content breaks. So there was a video on the page, and then there were multiple questions on the video. And they used that break to provide pagination so that now that I think about it, so that each question was directly under the video as you saw it, right? So you didn't have to scroll away from the video.
Yeah, that's an example of, right, you've got content, then you have a group below it that has content breaks within it, right? So that's how you would pull that off. But just having content at the top separated with content breaks, I don't actually know that that's supported.
I think it does work because I encountered it.
So I know that it works because I did it I tested it out for my demo. But I do want to move on. I think that this is an important discussion in the sense that the way that I am doing content breaks is not recommended, but there are other ways, and the carousel effect within a content group, a group being this type of feature, does sound more useful, but I don't have that as part of my demo right now. Yes.
How does it know where to end?
How does it know where to
How does it know where the break ends? It's defining a container of content, isn't it?
The content break?
Yeah,
You can just put in a content break where you think there should be.
Why don't you preview the page?
but
and see what
on a
happens?
page that has no group.
Right.
Um,
It's treating the page itself as the group in that case.
So I did want to show a preview just so that we can see what this preview looks like, and I'll show you what it looks like as a content break. One thing I did want to say, so this is previewing kind of a weird combo of instructor and student view. So you'll see that we do have this instructor only view. But as we're going to see when we get to instructor and student, the way that this question looks, this is actually what it looks like in the student view. So we do have an upcoming later this year roadmap item for user preview that I think will make this a little bit truer to form. But the way that this previews right now is not actually the way this would look for any individual user type. As far as the content break, it does make it into a second page. So you'll see I put the content break between the two questions. And now I have previous next, and I can go and see my question here. That's what it looks like. Again,
So it
not
just
recommended.
replaces, it just treats it like the other side of the page. It's like
Yeah.
the other side of the paper.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. We have a ticket open for taking questions out of the top level and making them only accessible for groups.
Mhm.
And I think we should do the same
For,
with content
right,
breaks.
yeah.
Amanda, could you click that again quickly?
Click the next page, you mean?
Yeah. Okay, got it.
All right, I want to move on because I still have to do the instructor and student view are both quicker, but we only have 12 minutes. All right, that was everything I was going to show for practice pages in the author view. I have already set up a course section, so I'm going to go to my instructor view. And I'm going to log in here as an instructor. And I have my unicorn practice page demo course. Go into that. So I'm not really going to get into any of these other things in the instructor dashboard here. I'm going to go specifically to overview and then course content. You can see that we see the content of the page in a hierarchy. Again, I'm going to go through my hierarchy to my first page, which is unicorn epistemology. And I'm going to make this thing go away. I can open as instructor, and that's how I get to the instructor view of the page. I'm going to get rid of this message. So starting off, this looks very similar to the author view for the static content. Of course, this is read only for instructors. When I get down, so I haven't actually published the change I just made where I moved the content break. So the content break is still here at the end of my text. So it just looks like a page break. And I have my note here that's visible only to instructors. So again, that's showing up in the instructor view, but we'll see it doesn't show up on the student view of the page. Here for the questions, I have a very similar view to what the question looked like in the author view, except that this is read only. So the instructor can still see what does the question look like, what's the answer key, what are the hints, the explanation. Again, if you want me to get into these, that can be its own demo. I'm not going to get into it, but they can see all of this information about how the question is configured. They just can't make any changes to it. And the same for this input question. I think that is everything I was going to show for the instructor view. Does anyone have anything they think is worth knowing or questions about this before I move on? And then finally, I have my student view. I'm going to log in as a student. I'm gonna go to my unicorn practice page demo. And get rid of all this extra stuff. So as we had mentioned, I don't have this actually configured for the agenda to show up. That's why this is kind of sparse looking page. I'm going to go to my Learn page, and I also haven't set up any kind of schedule for this. So my Learn page is my main page. I can see this content. I'm going to go through my hierarchy to get to that unicorn epistemology page. And you can see I've already gone through it. It already has that green check mark. If I click in here, I'm going to see very similar content for the static part of the content. Again, I'm going to have this page break I set up that we don't recommend that you do. You'll notice that that instructor only content is not there. And then what the student sees is just the question content. So they can pick an option here. It's going to tell them, what's correct versus incorrect. Because this is a practice page, not a scored page, then, they're going to be, it's essentially submitting for this one question. As soon as I click on something, it's giving me that feedback. And I can do this as many times as I want. So this is an input question. So type something and submit, and it'll give me feedback, and then I can reset as many times as I want to practice. Any other questions, comments, concerns? If not, I think that was it for my demo. Again, if you haven't already, please put a comment or two asking for what you want me to demo in the February Torus Community Meeting. Any final questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
As I've said in the past, I need an audience for these because I need you guys to tell me when I'm doing something wrong or I'm missing something. So I appreciate that. I will edit this and get it up on the website and send out an email to the Torus community email list. So thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, did you?